Hey everybody, Paul here. I just wanted to have a quick chat with you about how vet courses are built in RTOs. So let's set the scene. A registered training organisation says, hey, we've found a really good opportunity to deliver a certain type of course to a certain group of people. We think we should be able to deliver it, and so they go to ASQA, the Australian Skills Quality Authority, put forward a case and say, hey, look, we're going to deliver this course. We think we're worthy to do it. And they find that course in most cases on training.gov.au from one of these things, a training package. And there are cases where they might use a thing called an accredited course. You'll find out about that in other parts of our course. But in this case, and in most cases, it's a qualification or a part of a training package rather. So let's have a look. So inside a training package, as you might remember, you'll find qualifications. And qualifications are nothing more than a bunch of units of competency that have been put together in a logical way in a bunch of maybe core and elective units to create a qualification. And that's a thing like a certificate 3 in something or a diploma in something. A skill set is pretty similar, but it's a lot smaller than a qualification. So a skill set might be 2 or 3 or 4 units of competency put together in the same way a qualification is, but you don't get a diploma or you don't get a certificate 3 or anything like that. It's just called a skill set, still nationally recognised. And of course, units of competency can live by themselves too. Sometimes people go and get just a single unit of competency, a statement of attainment, and I guess the most common scenario is things like the responsible service of alcohol, the first aid certificate, that's usually just 1 unit. RCG, white cards, construction sites. There might be, specific licensing requirements and things like that will often be just a single unit rather than a whole qualification or a skill set. So regardless of the situation, the RTO has gone to training.gov.au, opened up the training package and found the qualification or skill set or unit of competency that they want to deliver. The next step is to create a thing called a training and assessment strategy, commonly known in the industry as a TAS. And the TAS is kind of like a business plan for training and assessment. And as the name strategy suggests, it really is that high-level stuff. So you don't need to worry about training and assessment strategies too much in this course. You certainly won't be making one. I think they're actually in the diploma, one of the TAE diplomas. You'll come across it there. But it's still worth knowing that there's these things called training and assessment strategies. And so the RTO uses this to kind of put together the very big picture of how they're going to deliver the course, who some of their cohort might be, where they're going to deliver it, the general resource requirements and the staffing requirements and just that kind of overall stuff. It's a very overarching strategy document. That's all I'll say about it for now. Once they've created a TAS, they then go and put together, I'll just move my face out of the way there, they then go and put together things called learning programs. And typically the learning program is something they develop for a specific cohort. And by cohort, we mean basically a different group of students with a different set of needs. So the training and assessment strategy might be for one qualification or one skill set or one unit, but you might have, and you'll just have one training and assessment strategy, but you might have a number of different learning programs based on that training and assessment strategy. So let's think of a really common example, say something like first aid. So you'll have one training and assessment strategy for the first aid course, which is basically a single unit of competency, but you might have a number of different learning programs for different cohorts. Imagine if you were delivering first aid to a bunch of rural fire service volunteers and thinking about the types of injuries that they might be coming up against when they're out in the bush fighting fires. So, they're going to be dealing with things like smoke inhalation, stings and bites and tick bites and things like that. And then if you delivered that same unit of competency to a surf life-saving organisation, they're still going to be dealing with all the common stuff that you'd find in a first aid course, but there might be some emphasis or more time spent on things like drowning and sunburn and heat stroke and all those sorts of things that might happen in the surf. So same unit of competency, same overall training and assessment strategy, but a different program for different cohorts so that you can really tailor it to meet the needs of different cohorts, different learner groups. And that's a really important feature of vocational education and training in Australia. So that's how it happens, I guess, out in the real world. We're just going to look at now a simplified model because this is what you're going to do as part of your main projects for this part of the course. So you're going to create these things over here, these learning programs, but you're going to get to skip doing this part because it's a bit more complex. Just going to get right to the fun bit, developing a couple of learning programs. So the recommended approach for this course. So we're just going to get straight to units of competency. So of course, feel free if you want to go and develop a program for a whole qualification like a Cert III in something, or if you're really brave, a diploma in something. But just bear in mind, of course, that's a pretty big job making a learning program for a whole qualification. The unit requirements in this course don't expect you to do a full learning program for a full qualification. So let's just keep this simple. And I think one of the beautiful things about keeping it simple is that it lets you focus on the skills of designing and developing without getting too overwhelmed by too much work to do. So basically you'll choose 2 units of competency that you like, that you're interested in, and then you'll go through the process of then developing a learning program for each one. And just so you get the feel for kind of differentiating them a bit for different cohorts, different groups of people, you'll need to kind of look at a slightly different group, a slightly different cohort for each program. And just to extend on this a little bit further, basically when you create a learning program is basically the who, what, when, where, how, and why of delivering a course. So the who the learners are, who the trainers are, the what, that's the unit of competency and the content, the when, so when are all the sessions happening, when are the assessments happening, when's it scheduled for, the where, so where is the course going to take place, in the classroom, in the workplace, a combination. How, very important, that's the how it's going to be delivered. So you're going to be doing more of the kind of lecture style, you're going to be doing hands-on stuff, is it going to be learning on the job, a combination of all that, bit of online. And the why, I think the why is a really important question as well. So why would people be doing this course? And that can be a really strong motivator as well. So the who, what, when, where, how, and why is basically what a learning program is. We cover that in more detail in other sections, but I just thought I'd mention that now. And a key part, just to finish on this, a key part of a learning program is developing, figuring out, what the sessions are going to be. So what they learn first and what they learn next and all the bits and pieces to get their certificate in whatever it is. And so at this stage, for this part of the course, you're only worried about the learning program. But I'll just give you a heads up. Later on, you can take that learning program and then create session plans, also known as lesson plans. We tend to use that term pretty well interchangeably. So a learning program will set out a number of sessions. You'll go, okay, they'll do this first, they'll do that next, they'll do that next. You're not figuring out, at the learning program level, you're not figuring out, when the morning tea breaks are and how many hours they spend on this particular activity or whatever. It's not to that level. That's a lot more high level. You worry about those kind of things when you do a session plan. That's when you work out what time the session starts, when the breaks are, how long they spend on a certain activity. So that's later on in the course. For now, we're really just focusing on these learning programs. So I hope that helps just sort of orientate yourself to what you're doing and where you're going with this particular part of the course.